You're listening to Republic Broadcasting Network because you can handle the truth.
What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero. The history the government hopes you never learn. Here is your host, Michael Rivero.
And welcome to our show today. It is Friday, March 12th, 2021. Thank goodness it's Friday. Thank goodness it's Friday. Thank goodness it's Friday. We have a lot to talk about today. And Mike is in our control room, twiddling the dials and keeping us out of trouble. We're going to follow the current format for today. We're probably going to make a change on Monday. I still haven't decided what we're going to do here yet. But the emails coming on in really are leaning toward going back to an hour of news and an hour of phone calls. We may try something else aside from that, but we are going to make the change because a lot of people didn't like this particular format. All right, so let's get right on into it. First of all, if you're not paying attention, daylight savings time starts Sunday. So when you go to bed Saturday night, set your clocks an hour ahead. You know, spring ahead, fall behind. This, of course, did not apply to Arizona or Hawaii. So just make sure that you get that taken care of, because otherwise, you know, you might miss Monday's show. I mean, that would be horrible, absolutely horrible. If you thought winter was over and spring was here, you're going to have to think again, because the central United States, from the Rockies to the Mississippi River Valley, are getting for another major storm that will deliver historic snow and just rain all over the area. And the storm system delivers its first threat over the Rockies. Intense bands of snowfall will dump feet of powder across Colorado and Wyoming. Now, it's not going to quite reach down here to Indiana, we hope, because we're starting to look spring-like around here. But if you live in those parts of the country, you definitely want to be prepared for that. Speaking of being prepared, experts are now saying that Iceland is probably going to get a major volcanic eruption in the immediate future. They've been monitoring that swarm of earthquakes that's been down near Reykjavik, and they're saying there it does look like there's going to be a volcanic whoopsie there as well. Getting on into our government, this is something we're starting to hear over and over again. This one is actually from over at InfoWars. Who is the president? And they're reporting about how Kamala Harris took the phone call with the Prime Minister of Norway, Emma Solberg. And, you know, it's like, where's Wally? And everybody's saying, where's Biden? You know, what's he doing besides wandering around a hardware store? And, you know, it's his inability to do the job is becoming obvious to everybody. It is worrying foreign heads of states. It is angering the American voters, who are realizing now that there were indications of Biden's mental decline prior to the election that were being withheld by the corporate legacy media. They're very upset about that. They're upset about the fact that there was this massive election fraud to get Trump out of the White House, only to replace him with this barely functional individual who really has no qualifications to be sitting in that Oval Office. Okay, now Clay Travis is a sports journalist. He founded the website Outkick, and last Friday he mentioned that Facebook severely restricted traffic to his website last year after posting several articles positive of then President Donald Trump. The censoring is going like crazy. And for those of you who go on over to the Ron Gibson archive, you probably noticed that our shows stop on the 4th of March. And the reason for that, I just found out from Ron Gibson. YouTube banned him for 2 weeks because there were too many articles and topics and videos talking about fraud in last November's election. Well, that's not going to go away anytime soon. And Ron indicated that the YouTube has actually pulled down some of the videos that he archives, including one from my show and another from Project USA, and I forget where he said the third one was pulled down from. But they're definitely out there, and they're not even trying to hide the fact that they're out there to control everything you see and hear. It's kind of like the intro to the original Outer Limits, the control voice. We will control all that you see and hear. And they had that, sound in the background. Okay. Now, here's another story, another point of view. And we talk about, the obvious double standards that we are seeing here in our current culture, where the song of the year was called Wet Ass Pussy. And yes, I know I'm skirting the edge of permissible speech on this channel with that. But I say it to make a point, because this is the same culture that is banning Dr. Seuss, Disney movies, and so forth. And it's just really, really weird. So that gets us to this article out of Natural News, where Twitter is apparently banning people who try and call out pedophiles. And Jack Dorsey and his army of social justice warriors have axed another defender of the innocent after she tweeted a message exposing transgender pedophile Alec Vade Menon. And we see that as well. We've got, Facebook and so forth are banning conservatives and banning questions about vaccines. But, child porn is still being allowed in there. Various other scams are being allowed in there. It really is a political censorship that is going on. Here's an interesting little story. This is from the Gateway Pundit. And it's more of the aftermath of the January 6th rally in Washington, D.C. Gentleman named Joshua James was arrested this week and is being charged in connection to the violent events of January 6th. What was really interesting is the FBI sent an armored vehicle with a turret, 2 vans, 6 FBI vehicles, 3 local police vehicles to arrest this young father. And, he's got 3 young children, including a 3-year-old. This is not a dangerous man. And yet they called out all the armor to put it on display. And that's probably exactly what it is. We get to show off our armored car with the turret on it, and we get to show off all those other things. And it reminds me something that happened to me many, many years ago when I was living in West Covina with my family. And this happened on July 5th. I don't remember the year, but I remember it was July 5th because it was the day after 4th of July. And our neighbors, who were not very nice people, had been firing bottle rockets onto our property all night long. And one of them apparently hit our roof and started smoldering. And the next day, we all of a sudden realized the roof of our house was on fire. And so we called the fire department, and we get up there with the garden hose and we put the fire out. It was just a little tiny fire, about 1.5 to 2 feet across. And but it also happened to be the very first day that West Covina's brand new fire department had gone into active service. They'd gotten rid of the old red fire trucks. They had these day glow kind of lime yellow green trucks, and they even had a cherry picker, that would go up 8 floors in a city of bedroom homes. And they sent everything. We were the first alarm they had for the new fire department, and they sent everything. The entire street was blocked all the way out there, and they had the cherry picker out there in front of our house with this thing way up, 8 stories high, looking down on a 1-story ranch house. And they almost seemed disappointed that we had put out the fire, but they went up there anyway, and they chopped out the cinders and the wood, and they did that fireman thing here, and stood around getting pictures taken for the newspaper. Maybe this is what they did with that guy. They sent all this stuff with the turret and the 6 FBI vehicles because they wanted to look good and they wanted to show off their new toys. I don't know. It's kind of hard to imagine what's going on in the minds of people who've got these kind of vehicles and whatnot. All right, let's talk about election fraud here. And people are saying, well, there's nothing wrong with mail-in ballots. It's perfectly okay. But it turns out that over 92,000 mail-in ballots were sent to the wrong address in Nevada. And so they never got to who they were supposed to get to. They were never returned. Meanwhile, apparently a Biden voting county has 5 people charged for election fraud. It's still coming on out bit by bit how crooked last year's election was. And if YouTube doesn't like that, well, Poo on them. What can I tell you? Meanwhile, over at Arizona, you've already been aware of the story about this guy who was just walking along, looked into a dumpster behind where votes had been counted for the election, and he found these huge bags of shredded ballots. And he pulled them out and saved them. And the Maricopa County elections official said, well, they were just from previous year's elections. They've got nothing to do with this. Well, the Gateway Pundit was able to examine some of the shredded ballots and glue some of them back together to confirm they were, in fact, from the 2020 election. And One American News Network has independently confirmed this, that those shredded ballots were from the 2020 election. Now, those ballots were under subpoena. And so somebody somewhere is guilty of destruction of evidence and obstruction of justice. All right. Meanwhile, for all of the wailing and gnashing of teeth that we're hearing about efforts to question the election that put Biden in the White House, the Democrats are out there now trying to overturn one of the Iowa congressional races that the Republican won by just 6 votes. And the House Administration Committee will consider an appeal from Democrats to contest the results of that race. So challenging the election is okay for the Democrats. It's just not okay for the Republicans. All righty, let's talk about COVID-19 for a little while. COVID cases creep up by 10% to 6,609 as tests hit a record high of 1.6 million because of the schools reopening. Because you get more tests, you get more test results. Deaths dropped by another 26% in a week with 175 victims, and the R rate falls to the lowest ever level. Okay, so it's the numbers are just not there. Interesting story out of Natural News. 8 European nations have temporarily halted the AstraZeneca coronavirus vaccination because of reports of a problem involving serious blood clotting issues, including clots in the arteries of the heart itself. Iceland being the most recent European nation to join that halt. And of course, AstraZeneca's stock took a major hit from this. Oh, let's all feel bad for AstraZeneca's money people. But the European Medicines Agency, which is Europe's equivalent to the FDA, confirmed no fewer than 30 patients who received the AstraZeneca vaccine jab suffered the adverse outcome of blood clotting. At least one resulted in death. So, and by the way, blood clotting is not listed as an official side effect of any of these vaccines. We did a flashback on a story from last year when this was just all starting up, and it basically was saying that 1/3 of deaths reported to the CDC after the COVID vaccines occurred within 48 hours of the vaccination. Now, right now, the orthodox media, the medical industrial complex are out there saying it's just a coincidence these people died when they got the shot, that they were probably going to die anyway. But when you talk about 1/3 of these reported deaths within 48 hours of the vaccination, these statistics begin to look very, very damaging. And there does seem to be a relationship. Now, remember, we reported earlier in the week that the life insurance companies are out there standing by a clause that is in probably most life insurance policies, including yours, that if you are killed by an experimental medical treatment, your life insurance is null and void. So the insurance companies are probably just happy as all get out. Well, no, they're not. They're very unhappy that the doctors are saying, no, it's got nothing to do with the vaccine. It's the families of the deceased who are happy with all of this because it means they get the insurance payout. So here we are 1 year into 15 days to flatten the curves, and we are still dealing with this authoritarian government trying to control every aspect of our lives. Now, Anthony Fauci has admitted there actually is no science behind continuing the lockdowns. One professor came out and said this is the worst public health mistake in the last 100 years. Now, probably a lot of you are looking forward to those $1,400 checks that are due to hit your bank accounts in the very near future as part of the COVID relief bill. But you need to understand, all of that money is considered borrowed from the Federal Reserve to be repaid in taxes. And that means the average cost per family for this COVID bailout bill that just passed, this $1.9 trillion bill, $69,000 per family. So if you're a happy married couple, you're going to get $2,800 for which you will pay $69,000. Such a deal. And they want you to be just absolutely happy with that little bit of a crumb that they have dropped on you while basically robbing you blind out the back door. Down in Australia, they've had a story that is blowing up here of a huge cover-up where Australian sailors on HMAS Sydney suffered widespread adverse reactions to their COVID-19 vaccinations. The corporate media is saying they only had mild side effects, but apparently the ship's crew, most of them needed hospitalization. So it was very, very serious situation down there. Mitch McConnell is slamming Biden's COVID stimulus as a multi-trillion-dollar Trojan horse and argues it is designed to bail out states and local governments rather than to help people, which gets on back to those numbers I just ran past you. Over in Oklahoma, Governor Kevin Stitt says he's removing the statewide COVID-19 restrictions. Huzzah, huzzah, huzzah. Over in Los Angeles, they're starting to relax their COVID restrictions there. And starting next week, movie theaters will be allowed to open at 25% capacity. Now, unfortunately, that means they're still going to be losing money and they're going to be in trouble. But, it's better than just being shuttered completely. Meanwhile, IBM and Moderna are working together to track vaccinated persons in real time by teaming up to produce the COVID-19 digital health passes. To help roll out the passes, they will implement the plan with artificial intelligence and hybrid cloud services. So apparently you're going to have a remotely accessible card, or who knows, maybe it's even going to be a microchip. And then everywhere you go, some computer somewhere is going to say this vaccinated person is going here and there. And we know that there's been a push to microchip everybody anyway, and this might be the excuse to do it. Get your vaccine, get your microchip. Meanwhile, over in Europe, France, Germany, Spain, and Italy have been licensed by Russia to manufacture the Sputnik V vaccine. And this vaccine has already been registered in over 45 countries. Russia's direct investment fund reached agreements with the companies to manufacture the vaccine. And Adian Cyril will manufacture the Russian vaccine in Italy. It'll become the first European country to produce the product starting in July. And I know a lot of people are going to prefer to get Sputnik V over, certainly over the Pfizer and Moderna vaccines, and possibly over the Johnson & Johnson as well. And I'll be honest, I still have not heard any negative adverse reactions from Johnson & Johnson's vaccine other than those already announced, which is you're going to get chills, fever, and nausea for about 2 days. They're saying that's going to happen. But that's a good thing. It means the vaccine is working. Story coming on out of Investment Watch blog talking about the real reasons why millions of Americans will defy the COVID mandates and the vaccines. And it says that the public, is aware they're being pushed into a specific way of thinking, believing, and acting. And we have certainly had enough experience with that sort of thing, government trying to manage our thoughts over the years. And so heels are being dug in and saying, no, the harder you push, the more resistant I become. And as I've mentioned many times before, it is the sheer force of the coercive effort to get us all vaccinated that really has convinced me this is not really for our benefit. All righty, there is a continuing backlash against Joe Biden trying to take credit for America's vaccine rollout. He tried to take sole credit for it, despite the fact that all of these vaccines were being developed under Donald Trump's Operation Warp Speed. We're going to take a break for commercials, and we'll be right back.
Is your property a financial burden and causing you grief? Have you tried to sell but can't find buyers? Or are you just too busy to sell your property? Don't worry, we have the right solution for you. We buy properties as is, with cash, close in 30 days, and pay all closing costs. Our service is ideal for property owners who are in pre-foreclosure, have high-end repair costs, experiencing financial hardship, going through costly divorces, are relocating, need cash for retirement, suffering family loss, or have tax liens. Whatever your situation may be, we can help you sell your property and get the money you need. If you own a single-family home or multiple family units, call us for a free consultation at 888-910-1037. That's 888-910-1037. Or visit our website at cashingproperty.com. That's cashingproperty.com. Sell your property fast and leave all your worries behind.
The reviews for Extendivite are amazing. Amazon customer. It's amazing. I just ordered my second bottle. In 1 month, my blood pressure dropped significantly. I no longer get chest pain after I exercise. The reviews are spot on. My target is to get off of BP meds, and if it keeps going like this, I see a light at the end of the tunnel. Amazon customer. Extendivite works great. This product has made my blood pressure and cholesterol stable. I highly recommend it. Amazon customer. Excellent herbal formula. I've been using it to keep my cardiovascular system fine-tuned. Extendivite is only $69.95 for a 2-month supply. To order, call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com. That's HEARTDROP.com.
Extend your life with Extendivite.
Have you been looking for a trusted long-term storable food company? We have a solution for you. Simply Clean Foods is dedicated to providing the best quality food you can buy next to fresh from a farmer's market. Our line of resealable fruits, vegetables, and meats are suitable for everyday use, and you won't have to worry about throwing away valuable groceries ever again. Our food is completely GMO-free, and our stringent quality controls, plus testing for heavy metals, makes us unique in the storable foods market. Simply Clean Foods' primary focus is to bring clean food to people all around the world and change the way we look at freeze-dried food in our daily cooking. When you purchase from simplycleanfoods.net, not only will you be receiving high-quality food, but you will also be supporting veterans in need across the country and those who are affected by natural disasters. Right now, Amazon Prime members will receive fast 2-day shipping. Go to simplycleanfoods.net. That's simplycleanfoods.net. But do it today.
When all this twisted steel was swept away, did these remaining holes reveal what's really happened? What's really
And welcome back to our show here. We're talking about COVID-19, and let's talk about those masks, because face coverings are being worn by the vast majority of individuals, certainly in this country and around the world, in the belief that they're going to curb the spread of the coronavirus. And as I've said before, that's like trying to prevent mosquitoes from coming on in using a chain link fence. In fact, the mask I'm wearing these days says right on the front of it, if pants can't stop a fart, what makes you think this mask will stop a virus? And everybody who reads that laughs at the whole idea. But in an article published by the University of Southern Denmark, experts are pointing to the huge amount of face masks being worn and then thrown away as a ticking time bomb. There are 3 million coverings are being thrown out every single minute. They serve as carriers for other toxicants in the environment. The masks, if they're just thrown out, break down into dangerous microfibers, and they may also be carrying harmful chemicals into the environment. So it's a toxic. I was wondering all along, if these masks are really stopping this horrible, horrible virus, why are they not being treated, as toxic waste? But no, people just take them off, throw in the trash can. That's the end of it right there. All right, getting on to the international news now. Over in Syria, the U.S. occupation forces apparently are stealing Syrian wheat crops from the Al Jazeera area as part of their ongoing aggression against the Syrians. And they looted a new quantity of wheat from the Tal Alu silos. And yes, I understand getting rid of the enemy's food supply is a tactic or strategy of war, but it certainly does not make the U.S. look very good to be stealing the wheat from the Syrian people when we're supposedly there to be getting rid of ISIS rather than stealing their oil and now their wheat. Okay, maybe they stole all that oil to take all that wheat and bake it into bread or donuts or something. I don't know, but it's tacky. It looks tacky. The optics are bad on it. We have been talking lately about that ship that was attacked near the coast of Israel that dumped a load of oil and resulted in one of Israel's worst ever oil spills on the beaches. Israel's out there screaming it had to be Iran, had to be Iran, had to be Iran. Iran, of course, is denying it. But an interesting story came out from Zero Hedge, where U.S. intelligence is admitting that Israel has bombed dozens of Iranian oil tankers over the past 2 years. And it's a sabotage campaign. Sometimes they use aircraft. Other times they'll use divers to plant limpet mines. And of course, none of this is ever being reported in the legacy corporate media because, after all, Israel are the good guys and Iran are the bad guys. And we're supposed to hate the bad guys. All right. Interesting little story. We talk about all these really bogus weapons systems like the F-35, the Gerald R. Ford, the Freedom and Independence class littoral combat ships, which are now going to be decommissioned and scrapped without even seeing combat, and various other things like that, and how it comes to be. And I've mentioned before this wonderful book and even more wonderful movie, The Pentagon Wars, which is based on the true story of the development of the Bradley Infantry Fighting Vehicle. And it stars Kelsey Grammer, and Richard Benjamin directed it and also does a cameo in it. And it's a fun movie to watch. And I know it's out there somewhere on all these streaming services, so you might want to chase that down. But there's an article that came out of Zero Hedge, and it's talking about the development of the new ground-based strategic deterrent project. And basically what they're going to do is take Trident II D5 missile launchers from decommissioned Ohio-class ballistic missile submarines and put them on ground-based installations. And people are already saying this is going to be another boondoggle, but it's being driven by this, this defense contractor lobbyists. They're not really thinking about what makes for good military or efficient military or what's, good for the American people. They just want that money. And so they've got this idea for $264 billion for construction and maintenance of a new nuclear missile. And it's all being driven by the lobbying organizations, not rational or humane strategic objectives. So that's how a lot of these things get put together out there. And again, hunt down the Pentagon Wars. Okay, economic news. These stimulus checks could come as early as this weekend by direct deposit. And of course, Biden has signed the $1.9 trillion relief bill. But as I said before, when that $1,400 looks really good, and it's probably going to help a lot of people. But when you look at the total tax burden, this is going to add to you $69,000 per household. You'll realize this is they're taking the cake away from you and dropping a few crumbs and wondering why you're not happy. We got to take another break for commercials. We'll be right back.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Homeowners, are you in foreclosure, expecting to be served with a foreclosure lawsuit, or suspect your lender has coerced you into an illegal mortgage transaction? A huge number of mortgages made in the last 10 years have legal issues and are possibly defective. State laws and the U.S. Supreme Court have upheld that defective mortgage documents are grounds for foreclosure defense and for counterclaims in favor of the homeowner. If your mortgage has been sold or assigned since closing the loan, it may be defective and you may be paying the wrong party, and the lender may not have standing or the right to foreclose or collect payments under the law. If you would like to know if your mortgage is legal or not, or know if you are paying the right party, we can help. Our initial consultations are free of charge. We are not attorneys. We are legal researchers and work closely with experienced lawyers who know how to help you find the evidence to help you keep your home. Call toll-free 1-855-2-KEEP-IT. That's 1-855-2-KEEP-IT today.
Tired of being lied to by mass media? It's growing more and more apparent today that news is received less and less through standard media outlets. Even with a growing audience every day, RBN is beginning to direct more efforts into social media. Social media and the use of the internet is fast becoming the primary source of people for news, regardless of demographic. RBN has set out to provide some of the best news on the internet through republicbroadcasting.org, and also has begun to use the tools to our advantage by way of social media. Republic Broadcasting is now operating a Facebook page to function as yet another avenue to have our collective voice reach new audiences across not only America, but across the globe as well. The Facebook page features not only news, but also an RBN player to listen to our broadcasts. Get involved by visiting facebook.com/Republic Broadcasting and liking our page and share it with your friends and family, because you can handle the truth.
What would you say if I told you we have a new tool that will increase production and lower maintenance costs for your meat processing company? And it would pay for itself in just 6 weeks.
When pigs fly!
The new Ease Off Model Easy 4 replaces old spring-style carcass droppers and is faster, safer, and more reliable. The Ease Off lowers or lifts 1,000 pounds to or from your rail automatically using our remote control.
Sounds expensive. Can I afford it?
Can you afford not to try the Ease Off? It installs fast with just 3 bolts in place of your current dropper. The effortless operation will reduce fatigue and injuries, speed up your line, eliminate downtime, and increase profit.
How can I order my Ease Off?
Go to easeoff.com, EAZEOFF.com, and hurry, because we are offering $200 off on the new Easy 4 for a limited time. Easeoff.com. We make pigs fly. Cows, too. Ease Off LLC, Summersville, Missouri, 417-932-6419.
Well, they're stealing down on Wall Street and in Washington, too. You know, it makes me wonder, what's a guy on Main Street to do? I've always tried to be an honest, upstanding kind of guy. But I must admit lately, I thought about giving something else a try. Oh, I want to be a pirate. I want to sail the 7 seas, yeah, I want to be a pirate.
Welcome back to our show here. We're going to go ahead and open the phone lines now. Area code 512-248-8252. And we're talking about the economy. And there's very worrying indicators out there about the coming inflation. The M2 money indicator is now growing at 26.33% year over year. And Biden's $1.9 trillion spending spree has been described by Biden himself as just a down payment. It's just this borrow and spend, because somewhere down the road, we're going to have enough American citizens where their taxes will pay this all back. I really don't think so. Hasn't happened yet. story coming on out of Investment Watch blog about how there's more proof of inflation, higher costs affecting global supply chains and consumers. Claire and I were noticing just this morning gas prices here in Indiana are really starting to go on up. Certainly nowhere near what we were paying in Hawaii. And in theory, with everybody still locked down from COVID-19, demand for gasoline should not be all that high because we're not into the summer travel season yet. But the prices are definitely going up. Even the Vatican is having hard economic times. It has nearly depleted its financial reserves from past donations to cover budget deficits over recent years, which means all of these lawsuits for priests who are diddling the altar boys. And so they're putting out the call for more donations in order to keep the church going there. Well, I don't want to be mercenary or anything like that, but there's a lot of nice artwork there in the Vatican that I'm sure would fetch a pretty price if it was put up for auction. And really, I mean, if you think about how much wealth is really inside that palace, that city, it's amazing, really. Talking about immigration and Biden's border crisis is what they're calling it now. There's a massive line of immigrants are basically rafting, across the Rio Grande by human smugglers. The crossings are surging, but the Biden administration insists there is no border crisis. Meanwhile, Republicans are expecting the immigration turmoil will help them win back the House in 2022, and it just might happen that way. All right, we're going to start taking phone calls now. We're going to start with Al in Canada. Hello, Al. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hi, Mike. First again.
Hi.
Wow, what a lucky fella. I wanted to talk about money. The M2 money supply. Which one did they stop posting? Was it M3 like
I thought
10, 15 years ago or something like that?
I thought it was the M1 aggregate. The total amount of money in circulation. Yeah, they stopped reporting that one a long time ago because the number was getting to be very, very scary.
What that is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if M2 is growing at 26, what's M1 growing at? Because that is really what inflation is.
Yeah, it really is.
So this 69,000 per family, I'd argue that is an absolute fabrication. It's way too low because of the simple fact that, number one, the debt never gets paid off.
No.
The interest always grows. It accrues.
Yes. Yep.
More and more is borrowed. And, now the United States, and you're not alone, but the United States is it's going to be sitting at 30 trillion, and I believe around just over 8 trillion is sitting on the Fed's balance sheet.
Yes.
Which is over a third of the United States economy. So you're approaching Japan here.
Yes.
As far as the trouble they're in, but also, so this 69,000, that's not taking into account, of course, inflation. And it's also not taking into account what's going to happen next. What's the price of it next year, and the year after, and the year after, and of course, you're going to see this
when
curve,
we're saying
right?
69,000, we're not saying that's the total. We're saying that is the additional taxes that American families are going to be paying to repay this $1.9 trillion boondoggle.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So shadow stats. I think they're. I haven't heard anybody talk about them for a while, but I look at it all the time because based upon 1980 inflation, the 1980 and how they would calculate inflation, inflation apparently is humming at around 10% right now.
That's bad.
And well, like Ron Paul would always say, when they start tinkering with this stuff, and like central planning, by doing all this, what they're really doing is hurting the poorest first, and
yes.
the people that are on fixed incomes. And they're the ones that get poor. And is it just a coincidence, Mike, that the border's wide open now? So you've got this rush of all these illegal immigrants coming in, driving down wages.
Yes.
Right? Which is another way of hiding inflation.
Yeah. Well, see, the problem is if they drive down the wages at the same time that food and fuel prices are going up, you've got a major problem.
Well, what happens is you're driving down wages, so it does suppress food prices to some extent because people will work for cheaper. And it's happening up here in Canada too. It's happening all over the world. I guarantee you. I know that Europe, when this European Union first got together, their poor their poor labor were the Polish.
Yes.
You know, they would bring these people in, or just allow them to waltz in to drive the wages down, and they would go into usually something to do with food, right?
Yes.
Like sorting vegetables or whatever it is, right? To try and keep the price of food down because that's where people really see it first, because everyone has to eat, and it's. I mean, it wouldn't have been bad if they just gave everybody $2,000. Like just everybody, because it's going to be taxed at the end of the year anyway.
That's true.
So you give everybody $2,000, and then that's it. But instead, they got to bail everything out, all these democratic cities and that, and they're just basically throwing the money in the air and hoping that it lands somewhere where it's going to make a difference with no plan in sight, as they used to say, shovel-ready projects. There's no plan.
No, there isn't.
Like it's the epitome of incompetence, and it's getting worse and worse all the time. But here's the good news, Mike.
Of private central banking. I mean, it is a trap. Once that private central bank starts issuing currency, more money is owed to the bank than is actually in existence, and you cannot reverse that trend.
Nope. So you just have to create more and more and more.
Yep.
Right, and of course, prices go up, and wages don't follow, and you end up becoming poorer and poorer and poorer.
Your standard of living goes down.
Yes, and as we know, the United States is still in bankruptcy.
Yes,
from 1933, and Canada's heading there. But like I said, there is a silver lining. At least you have a budget.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Up here in Canada, we haven't had a budget in 2 years. They created $500 billion out of thin air, and no one knows where it went. So imagine in your country if they created $5 trillion out of thin air and no one knew where it went. So, once again, your country, it's still a lot better than a lot of other countries, even though you have somebody like Joe Biden as the figurehead. I'm not saying he's running anything because I don't even think he can bite his thumb. But it could be worse. You could be Canada. Anyway, that's all I have. Thanks a lot, Mike. You have a good one.
All right, thanks an awful lot. The phone lines are open. Area code 512-248-8252. We're going to go to Tony we lost Tony. All right, well, the phone lines are completely open. Area code 512-248-8252. Getting on back to the news. Interesting little juxtaposition. And again, it's all this hypocrisy. The Democratic-led House yesterday passed a gun control bill to expand background checks with a vote of 227 to 203. 8 Republican lawmakers voted with the Democrats to pass this Background Checks Act that prohibits private firearms transfers without having a background check. And this is going to make it harder for law-abiding Americans to purchase guns to protect themselves and their families. At the same time, the Democrats blocked an amendment that would have required the Immigration and Customs Enforcement Service be notified if an illegal immigrant tries to buy a gun. So again, it's a double standard. More restrictions on legal American citizens owning firearms. But hey, if an illegal is going to buy a firearm, don't tell the immigration people about it. It's none of their business. Meanwhile, Dianne Feinstein, following the victory of the background check bill, is already saying that there will be a bill to ban all assault weapons introduced in the House. And it's unclear why these scary black rifles are so terrifying to the politicians. I mean, they're functionally equivalent to any hunting rifle, except that their caliber generally tends to be smaller. And that's one of the really interesting things that people don't realize. Your average hunting rifle is actually far more deadly than these sporting rifles. Because the in order to take down large game and make sure they're dead, you have to have a heavier caliber bullet, like a 30-06 or something, or double-aught Magnum buckshot. But most of these assault weapons are firing 223s, which are great for punching holes in paper, or maybe small varmints. But they're great for home defense. But it's just the way they look. They're not really war weapons. They don't have full automatic firing capability. But for some reason, the government has just settled on those as being the villain, just like they settled on carbon dioxide being the villain. Okay, we're going to go back to the phones. Kelly in Austin. Hello, Kelly. Welcome to the show. What is on your mind?
Hey, Mike. I called you yesterday to tell you that the Attorney General in Texas was threatening to take the mayor of Austin and the county judge of Travis County to court over their refusal to comply with the governor's order. He is. He filed lawsuits against both. Mm-hmm. And of course, they're trying to dig in their heels. But what they're not admitting here is that the AG has already taken several county judges to court over their attempts to declare certain businesses to shut down because they declared them non-essential, and he's one of them. I think he's going to win this one too. If it ends up in the Texas State Supreme Court, and there's a very good chance it could get there very quickly, they will nail the mayor of Austin to the wall.
Okay.
And the county judge. And look, I know that the liberals around here, they want to wear their masks. Oh, they're demanding it. Well, then wear your mask.
Yeah.
And don't be upset if somebody else doesn't want to wear a mask. And don't complain if a business owner wants to open his business 100%. If you object to that, go somewhere else.
Absolutely.
It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
And then look at the states that are opening and the states that have been open, and tell me what they've done wrong, because actually they're doing very well.
Yes.
South Dakota, Florida. I mean, excuse me. But what you see here is a fight. It's a fight for control. These people want to control everything about your life.
That's exactly what's at the bottom of the liberal agenda.
That's exactly right, Mike. That's exactly right. They want to put Big Brother's jackboot on your face and stomp on it. Remember one line from 1984. If you want a vision of the future, imagine the boot stamping on a human face forever.
Yes.
That's what they want.
Well, the theory behind liberalism. Okay, Kelly. The theory behind liberalism.
Please.
Okay. No, the theory behind liberalism is that if they can control every single aspect of our lives, that we will all be happy and stress-free. But if you look at the actual liberals themselves, you see that is certainly not the case.
Well, liberalism was not always like that. The liberals were typically they were people who wanted freedom in their lives. That's why they're called liberals. But somehow, between the 1960s and today, they have evolved into totalitarians.
Yes, they have.
Yeah, and they do not resemble the liberals I remember from the 60s. And I was very young in the 50s. I can't speak for them at that time. But I can tell you, looking at how liberal politicians have evolved over the years, the people in office now who describe themselves as liberals and progressives are nothing like the liberals I recall from years ago. People like Scoop Jackson, for example, and various other liberals who served in Congress and in the House of Representatives and the Senate. You can get along with them, you compromise with things. But today, it's all or nothing, and they really want to do nothing more than make sure that they've got that jackboot on your face, forcing you to comply with everything that they want you to do. So I'm hoping that this thing gets to the Supreme Court here pretty quickly, this Texas State Supreme Court, because the mayor of Austin is going to be, I think he's going to get his comeuppance. along with the county judge.
All righty.
Okay,
well,
Mike, thanks so much.
All right, thanks an awful lot. The phone lines are now completely open. Area code 512-248-8252. And getting on back to various and sundry miscellaneous news, we have been hearing about this for a while. And apparently 5 counties are going to vote on leaving Oregon and joining Idaho. The project is called Move Oregon's Border, also known as Greater Idaho, confirmed that an initiative aiming to absorb most of Oregon's landmass into Idaho received enough signatures to reach the special election ballot in the aforementioned counties, meaning voters will soon have the opportunity to make their voices heard. So, and we're hearing, out of California, they want to split into 2 halves because the southern part of California has just gone totally liberal and illegal immigrants, and the conservative Northern California don't want to have anything to do with them anymore. All right, let's go back to the phones to Mark in North Carolina. Hello, Mark. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Oh, what's on my mind, Mark? I'm just getting angrier and angrier when I see what's going on, what they're doing to this country. This gun bill they're talking about is so far it's just passed the House, right? It hasn't passed the Senate, I hope.
No, not yet.
Bad enough. And then it's what's that? Not so Feinstein has to open her mouth. But I'll tell you.
Okay, Mark, I got to put you on hold. Don't hang up. I'm going to come right back to you after these words from our sponsors.
Homeowners, if your lender has gone out of business or sold your transaction to another lender or servicer, you may be the victim of a wrongful foreclosure, resulting in the loss of your home. If you've already lost your home, are in foreclosure, or even in good standing, you can challenge the mortgage transaction's illegal issue, and your property can be restored to you, and your foreclosure can be stopped or reversed, and the mortgage transaction declared unenforceable. State laws, U.S. title codes, the Uniform Commercial Codes, and U.S. Supreme Court rulings have upheld that defective mortgage documentations can reverse or stop foreclosures and enforce property title claims in favor of the homeowner. We are having successes in stopping the process of foreclosure, the enforcement of the foreclosure judgments, the sale of property, and evictions after the sale. We are not attorneys, and we don't give legal advice. We are a professional team of legal researchers, providing forensic mortgage audits and expert witnesses. We have the knowledge to produce the evidence and enforce laws regarding your legal issues. We've been in business for 12 years without a complaint. Consultations are free, and we provide a free title search to confirm if your mortgage has legal defects. Please call 855-253-3748. 855, 2, keep it today.
Ladies and gentlemen, J.R. Moore here. We have a special promotion going on at Republic Broadcasting. This is a fundraiser for Republic Broadcasting involving the Energy Cleaner. Mail me a postcard. My address is at my website at thelibertyman.com. We pick a postcard every other Thursday. When your postcard is drawn out, you get to buy an Energy Cleaner for $215 instead of $285, $70 discount. $200 goes to Republic Broadcasting. You also get a 10% discount on my mattress pads. So get this postcards in, put your name, your telephone number, your email address on there, and when your postcard is drawn, you get to get an Energy Cleaner for $215 instead of $285. Mattress pads, 10% off. Help us out at Republic Broadcasting and help yourself to get an Energy Cleaner at a deep discount. It's a win-win situation for everybody. We hope you can get these postcards in soon. Thank you very much.
Hey, honey, I'm home. I grabbed a newspaper on the way home. Look at all the news today.
Don't you know that all you're going to get in the newspaper is propaganda, twisted news, and false information?
Honey, this is a national newspaper. It has to be true.
Ha! For some reason, the majority of the population believe anything the mainstream media tells them. The newspaper doesn't give out the important attention of what's happening to this country and news that affects our daily lives. Say, does that newspaper mention anything about the North American Union?
No, not that I can see.
I didn't think so. You need to go to www.newswithviews.com, where truth is more important than political correctness. That's www.newswithviews.com. Hey, don't throw that away. We can use that in the birdcage.
Okay, move over. Let me start reading newswithviews.com.
The truth? Read all about it at newswithviews.com. Newswithviews.com, where reality shatters illusion.
Wall Street wizards on the land from a mental institution claim private retirement funds. Yeah, they are the best solution. But when the markets crash, we'll be asking where's the cash. Guess them folks in D.C. must be smoking Texas hash. Will Congress pay the piper when all the money's gone?
Welcome back to our show here, and the phone lines are open. Area code 512-248-8252, and we're talking with Mark in North Carolina. And Mark, just pick up where you left off.
Yeah, Mike, look, what I'm going to say now, I know may upset people, but you know what? That's what this show, I think this show is pretty much about. This is alternate radio, and like I said, I've heard worse than what I'm going to say. But I'm going to say it anyway. You see with Dianne Feinstein, this guy Adler there in Texas, in Austin,
yes,
who wants to keep the mask on people, even though the state itself said no, that's enough already. And you see it with so much of Biden's cabinet, including this bum who was just elected as Attorney General, and the other clown there, Blinken. Many others. Unfortunately, these people are Jewish. Okay.
Yes.
Now, all I can say is this: is always talk about anti-Semitism, anti-Semit this, and anti-Semit that. Okay.
Yes.
I even heard how that the governor of Texas, and just as I thought maybe he was, getting back into his rhythm again. He says something stupid the other day, like Gab is really anti-Semitic, and it's got no business in Texas.
Yes.
I mean, these people, what they're doing is they're going to create real hardcore anti-Semitism. It's a country where Jews have had it better than any other place, I believe, in their history, okay, including supposedly, if you go by the letter, by the Bible, when they first had their own country there in with Israel, Palestine, whatever you want to call it. If that's exactly according to that's just first fact or not, I'm really not sure. But say it is. But they still have better in this country than any other place. All right, more opportunities and more, and the way some of these people are acting, and it's certainly not all. Okay, they're excellent. There's a lot of excellent people among them. Like, for instance, that one doctor there, Dr. Gold, I think her name was, who came out against all this COVID nonsense and spoke up for hydroxychloride and other treatments like that. Okay, so it's not all of you, but the fact of the matter is, the ones that do, they stick out like a sore thumb. And at a time like this, when the people in this country are so angry, when we really don't have any real leadership anymore, as I was watching a stream on, I don't know if you heard of these guys, the Duran.
Yes.
Son and Ned. Okay, they're very good. Very, when you see there's no leadership in this country and all that, and yet these people are going to create real anti-Semitism. And God knows where that could lead to, because there's
that's the problem here. All right, Mark, I got to let you go. We got to take a break for station identification. We'll be back with hour 2 after these few words.
Here at Republic Broadcasting Network, we have been building our online store. Well, we have been focusing on bringing you the best talk show host in the country. Here at Republic Broadcasting Network, we also want our listeners to have products they can use every day and in times of emergency. We have added new products each week to our store. Your support of this network, plus products at the best prices, is a win-win situation. Check out our new store. Go to our website, republicbroadcasting.org, and click on the online store located at the top of our website. Together, we can continue to grow RBN and help our listeners prepare for the future. Go to republicbroadcasting.org and click on our online store or call us
800-724-2719 extension 3. 800-724-2719 extension 3.
This is RBN, the Republic Broadcasting Network.
What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero, because World War III is a really bad idea. Here is your host, Michael Rivero.
Welcome back to our show, hour number 2. The phone lines are closed for the next half hour, and we're going to do a little bit more news out here. Interestingly enough, story coming on out of Scoopy Web. Apparently the Kentucky College hosted an event that basically spent most of their time saying that Trump supporters are complicit in white terrorism. I mean, smear jobs are just going on out there, and, you know, the name calling. And of course, nobody in the legacy corporate media is daring to question them in that. Okay, we actually have one more caller waiting on the line I'm going to take before we close the lines. Tom in Florida. Hello, Tom. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Yeah, good day, Michael. Yeah, Mike, just wanted to real quickly, I know you want to go to your news, but yeah, Mike, I just want to talk what's going on here in the Herald. They reported we had a major car accident here in Miami, South Florida, and they also had a major one in Orlando, illegal immigrants. They had 16 got killed over there in California. And actually, the editorial was like, these people are coming here. They don't have driving skills. They never owned a car. 99% of them never had a car in Honduras or Central America, wherever they come from, Guatemala, whatever else. So they don't have no cars, Mike. So these demon rats want to bring them here. They want to bring them here. These people are coming here. They want to. Their driving skills are horrific. Car accidents. You can see 16 in California. So yeah, Mike, it's just appalling. And but this Ocasio-Cortez and all these ones want to bring in all these illegals, Mike. And you're talking about millions of cars. You're talking about Mike. What happens when a locust swarm hits a cornfield and they devour it? What do they do then? What do they do next?
They move on to the next cornfield, and there's nothing left behind. But, you've hit an important part, that we're going to be adding all these additional cars to the roads. It's going to be using up even more gas and oil and increasing our air pollution. And it's funny how, all these global warming environmentalist people aren't out there saying that, these illegal immigrants are going to be adding to the pollution here in the United States of America.
Absolutely, Mike. And the Republicans did not run one ad during this election with Trump and Biden, bumbling buffoon. Did they run an ad saying that? None of the Republicans, all these multi-millions of dollars are spent on these ads. Not one of them really hit the American public. Even these demon rats saying, "Oh, wait a minute, these ads are heavy because these liberals are wanting all these illegals over here to bring in more fumes, create more havoc. I mean, it's on the environment. I mean, I don't get it.
Yeah.
We can't sustain another 40, 50 million illegals, Mike. We just can't. And the country environmentally,
our roads and highways are already overstressed from the legal Americans. I mean, I don't know about where you live, but when we were living in Hawaii, we've got the worst roads in the nation out there. Here in Indiana, potholes everywhere. The existing roadway infrastructure, isn't able to support the current level of traffic. Now you start adding another few million cars, and we don't even know where those are going to come from, to the traffic, and it's just going to increase traffic congestion.
Well, Mike, here in South Florida, it's horrible. It's horrendous. When I graduated high school as a young man, you could go to Miami Beach from my house in 10 minutes. It would take you an hour and 15 minutes to get there now, Mike.
Okay.
At 3 o'clock in the afternoon. That's how bad it's got. The traffic is horrendous here. Our transit system is actually a joke considering we're, pretty big city here, Miami, in South North Miami, all the way down. It's crazy, man. But everywhere I look, Mike, it's more and more cars being added. And one more thing, I'll let you go. Mike, the housing thing, they had a thing in South Florida on the news just now. There's no houses for people to buy. They're building, Mike, they're building, it's multiple units. It's like the kibbutz in Israel. It's like a beehive. Everywhere you go, and you're building beehives, Mike. Beehives are everywhere. No, pretty soon you won't even get a house. The land is off the charts. An acre of land in South Florida is off the chain. California's even worse, I hear, some areas.
Yes.
But here in South Florida, forget it. You buy an acre now, you better come up with, you better have like $500,000, I guarantee it. I'm talking raw land, Mike. Raw land. I'm talking even not even with a structure on it, because we've allowed everywhere I go, Mike, it looks like an invasion force. This is an invasion. And Mike, one more thing, and I'll let you go. These people are not coming here to learn our languages all over the Herald. These people, 60% of the Mike. Listen to this, Mike. Tell everybody. Sorry, listen to this, Mike. Herald report. You can have Mike archive it. 60% of the people in Florida, the state of Florida, don't even want to speak English in their homes.
Yes.
They speak another language. Now that's
well. Now
Mike.
wait a minute. I don't have a problem with people speaking whatever language they want in their homes, as long as they're able to communicate with the society around them. Now I know the United States does not really have an official language, but one of the big problems I have are all these illegals and refugees coming into this country whose attitude is, we don't want to have to learn English. You should learn our language. And I used to see that a lot in Southern California, from all the.
Totally agree with that, Mike.
Yeah, they would just sit there saying, why don't you know how to speak Spanish? I mean, this used to be our land anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. There it is right there. Bingo. I mean, it's crazy. I don't know how much more we're going to take this, Mike, but like I said, they're reporting all these accidents. These illegals coming here. They're learning I guess they get cars, however, they get sponsored to get a car. And I think a lot of them don't even have actually driver's license. And they're getting horrific accidents, Mike. And not the ones that are getting killed. What about the ones that got wounded? You got to take care of them. Their medical bills are probably in the multi-millions of dollars for all these illegals, Mike. It's just,
I would imagine so.
People are not being arrested. Like, I remember your show like a year ago, and you said it. Nobody got arrested in these sanctuary cities.
Yes.
That's the end of our country, Mike. That's the number one issue to me. Like, I know I call your show and a lot of people want to hear, but the number one issue is we're being invaded, Mike. And everywhere I turn, I feel like I'm a native. I'm a foreigner in my own country, man.
A lot of people feel that way. Now, Tom, let me respond to what you just said here. I think a lot of people understand this is an important issue. They may not agree that it's the most important issue. To me, the most important issue is that we've lost control of the government by virtue of these very obviously rigged elections. But the immigration is a problem. But let's keep a little perspective and start talking about some of the other problems as well. Okay.
I got you. Look, Mike, I totally agree. But like I said, I think that's just all part of the narrative is immigration, the stealing of elections, LGBTQ is the right thing to do. And you heard about this guy, what's going on if you're white and you're straight, we should start, what do you call it, replicate or procreate? If you're white and you're straight, you need to start reprocreating or something. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
There's a bunch of bumper stickers you can come out with.
I'm white and I'm straight and I'm all in favor with that myself here, but
right.
What can I tell you?
Well, Mike, we got to start. It's all starting with the school system. These schools are dumbing our kids down like dumb imbeciles. They don't know nothing about history, Mike. I could go on for hours with that one. I can tell you stories,
but they know what they're supposed to believe. That's the problem with modern education. They're being taught to believe certain things. Don't question, don't analyze, don't think critically, just believe what we tell you. Humans are warming the earth. The Second Amendment only applies to the government uniformed thugs, various other things. I mean, I got to see that Common Core curriculum and the way they present the Bill of Rights. It's completely different from what was, obviously intended just from reading the original text. But, the original text of the Bill of Rights is not in the Common Core curriculum. It's their interpretation. And that's what kids are being taught to believe.
Well, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right, Mike. It's Jeb Bush type, George Bush nonsense. Those nincompoops. And you know what, Mike? One more thing. I'll go. Look, these illegals that are coming here, they never would own a car in their own country, Mike. You come to the United States, if you don't have a car, you do not survive. You will not survive in this country unless you have a great transit system in the city. But Mike, these people, it's just horrible. It's going to happen with the environment. I don't know what the answer is. All I can say is a bunch of corruption and tyranny. That's all I see with this invasion force that they're bringing in here with all these people wanting to consume. And, we're not even producing anything in this country anymore, basically. So, Mike, that's it. That's all I got to say. And you have a fantastic weekend, you and Claire, and I'll listen on and then call you next week in the middle of the week sometime.
All right. Well, thank you very much here. And we're going to let you go and get back to the news. I just noticed apparently our video feed has gone away. Let me see if I can cycle it and get it back. If not, I'll have to restart the call on the next commercial break. Yeah. And I don't know if it's YouTube or what the heck is going on here. All right. So, yeah, we lost our video. All right, I'll restart the call on the next commercial break. I can't do it here because everybody's listening. They're paying attention. All right, getting on back to the news here. Over in Virginia, in the Loudoun County School Board, they were having this board meeting, and this one teacher basically stood up and started slamming critical race theory. Now, for those of you who are not following along, critical race theory boiled down to its essence is that white people cannot help but be racist, and therefore we must deal with that issue. But this teacher basically made the statement to the school board, and the school district is rated number 4 in the state of Virginia. They made national headlines for moving away from Dr. Seuss, from associating him with their reading celebration due to the racial undertones in several of his books. So the Virginia teacher reached out to the Gateway Pundit, and the teacher who runs the Patriotic Educators on Instagram told the reporter that Loudoun County Schools policies and leadership trickled down to the rest of the school districts and paved the way to further indoctrinate the rest of the state. And that's really what it is. They are indoctrinating our children with critical race theory, with LGBTQ, with trans, with all this other stuff. And we applaud this one teacher for speaking up, but the fact remains it was only the one teacher. And that tells us just how bad things have gotten. Interesting little story. And this one is coming out of Tethasta.com. There was this high school senior was threatened with not being able to graduate for failing the critical race theory at his school because he refused to confess to his white dominance as part of the course requirement. The problem is this particular student is not entirely white. He is biracial. But they still said as part of the course requirement, you have to confess to your white dominance. That's not what schools are supposed to be about. Confess to your to your crimes and your sins and so forth and so on. Over in Wisconsin, there was a high school, Brookfield Central High School near Milwaukee, and they got into trouble because in a 10th grade health class, students were asked to view and discuss this sex survey, which really got graphic. And the true and false survey, the true and false style survey is saying, here's one question. I have been under the influence of drugs or alcohol while having sexual intercourse. These are 10th graders, remember. I have had sexual intercourse with 4 or more people. I have had unprotected vaginal sex. I have participated in oral or anal sex. Now, this, not surprisingly, is upsetting the families And one family said that their child came home from school feeling uncomfortable. The child told their parents they felt obligated to complete the survey in front of their peers, even though they wanted to opt out. Now, the school apparently had told students they could opt out, but students were not allowed to leave the classroom and had to sit through the presentation. And again, these are 10th graders, and it's one thing to be talking about safe sex and avoiding pregnancy and disease, but this kind of stuff, again, these kids really, I think, are too young to be dealing with these kinds of issues, because we're talking about what, 15, 16-year-olds? That's right on the border. So the school district is in a lot of trouble. All righty. Biden has issued yet another executive order, and this one has set the stage for Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin and Veterans Affairs Secretary Dennis McDonough to force taxpayers to foot the bill for transgender soldier treatment. So for you transgenders who don't have a lot of money or insurance, join the military and they will do your surgery for you at the cost of the taxpayer. And we are talking that transgender surgeries can cost anywhere between $100,000 and $200,000. Plus the military uplift, it's probably going to be $500,000. All right. Now, here's a good example of how the cancel movement is really going over the border. They're really not paying attention. They're just grabbing anything they can use as an excuse. Now, there was this public relations executive, Gordon Beatty, who's the owner of Beatty Communications. And Beatty wrote, this is the direct quote, "At Beatty Communications, we don't hire blacks, gays, or Catholics. We sign talented people, and we don't care about the color of their skin, sexual orientation, or religion. That's the way it should be with every company. Only hire people for their talent, experience, knowledge, and wisdom. We hire people we like, trust, and admire, and recruit people who have the potential to be better than us." Well, the woke people took just one sentence out of that statement of his. "We don't hire blacks, gays, or Catholics," and basically forced this guy to resign from the firm he founded, when his actual statement, when you read it in full, is a statement against discrimination. I mean, the innocent are getting burned at the stake along with the real witches here. All right, so let's get into some computer stuff now. We've been talking about the break-in into Microsoft Exchange servers, and the number of hacks is doubling every 2 hours. And the cyber criminals are taking full advantage of slow patch or mitigation processes on Exchange server, and the attack rates are just doubling. In countries feeling the brunt of the attack attempts are Turkey, the United States, and Italy, accounting for 19%, 18%, and 10% of all tracked attempts, respectively. Government, military, manufacturing, and then financial services are the most targeted industries whatsoever. Okay, now over on Mars, the next planet out here, Perseverance is starting to move around. It's starting to demonstrate many of its other little systems. The stuff that's coming on back is just amazing, and I'm sure my fellow Viking veterans are saying, "Oh, to had that kind of equipment when we were there back in 1976." And there's this article that came on out of Forbes talking about Mars red color, and the revelation that it's really only a few millimeters thick. And this is something that we actually discovered on Viking as well, that when you dig down deep enough, you run out of the red and you start getting into grays and whites and so forth and so on. So they're out there basically saying, that's is kind of weird. How do you explain a red coating over the entire planet that's only, very, very, very thin? Perseverance has 2 microphones Curiosity had one, but it was damaged on landing. But Perseverance microphones are working fine. They've released recordings of the wind blowing on Mars, the sounds of Perseverance itself. And today they released a new recording of Perseverance firing off its high-powered laser on Mars that can vaporize rocks up to 20 feet away. Now, the way that this is set up to do is they can vaporize the rock with the laser, and they can use a spectral analyzer on the plume that comes on up to get the composition of the rocks. It's, you know, a very nice way of sampling at a distance, and it does make a sound when it goes off, and NASA has released recordings of that sound. Meanwhile, over at SpaceX, they're planning a Starlink broadband for trucks, ships, and planes. It will not fit in cars, unfortunately. The terminal is much too big, but they are planning to have portable Starlink terminals for aircraft, ships, trucks, and RVs. Okay, we're going to take a break for commercials. I'm going to recycle our video feed, and we will be right back.
Corporate media dominates the American opinion. Finding independent voices that counter this avalanche is becoming increasingly difficult. With the endless corruption running rampant throughout our government, independent voices are needed more than ever to battle the offensive against our freedoms and liberties. As a listener of RBN, no one understands this concept better than you. Now it's up to you to do your part. The time has come for you to take action and begin broadcasting the truth to hundreds or thousands of people every month. Sound impossible? Quite the contrary. With pointed slogans from LibertyStickers.com, you can reach countless sleeping Americans unaware that they live in a real-life wonderland. LibertyStickers.com has a huge inventory of political bumper stickers and messages that reflect the truth about our government, our politicians, and the future of America. With so many in stock, there's one perfect for you. Visit us today at LibertyStickers.com. Again, that's LibertyStickers.com. Do your part. Your voice is important. Let it be heard.
Folks, we're living in a world the likes of which we've never perceived any clearer than we do now. The plan for global governance has been in the works for generations and would have likely been achieved by now, but for the fact that the globalists left open their Achilles heel. With all their tools, Federal Reserve System, fiat currency, no child left behind, and then Common Core education introduced to our schools to dumb us down, vaccines, pharmaceuticals to lobotomize us, GMO foods, insertion of compromised or bought and paid for politicians, judges, mainstream media propaganda, all pieced together like a puzzle designed to ultimately bring the world under submission. But with all their strategy, they forgot one thing: knowledge. And knowledge is power. With knowledge, their bombardment is nullified. Folks, with that, as brilliant and knowledgeable as you've become, among the wisest audience of any radio audience in the world, and you are, I want you to take a moment to reflect and ask yourself, how much of that knowledge did I obtain from Republic Broadcasting Network? How high has my consciousness been raised since I've been a listener? How fast am I now able to discriminate truth from fake news by being a Republic Broadcasting listener? How clear am I now able to see the world since I've been listening to RBN? Ask yourselves those questions, folks. Then ask yourself, what is that knowledge worth to me? Like my morning coffee, how would I survive without it? A voice of truth in a sea of lies. Do we not all need to make sure it survives? Like public broadcasting, we are now finding we can only survive with listener support. Censorship, advertisers being attacked, truth itself being attacked. It's the only way through this. We at Republic Broadcasting humbly ask you to become a supporter. Look at your budget and make a determination of what Republic Broadcasting is worth to you and what you can afford on a monthly basis. Go to republicbroadcasting.org and pledge $20, $30, $40, $50, if possible, $100 a month or more if it's affordable. Click the donate button and become a regular monthly donor. Assure both us and yourself that Republic Broadcasting truth will continue to flow like that morning coffee. The network thanks you.
Forced to carry his own cross while we drive nails in his coffin. You might say it is routine. It happens far too often. Decorated soldier, veteran of the war. Who would have thought that he would be among the sick and poor? preacher man wags his head while the rich man turns away.
Welcome back to our show here, and I forgot to do this in hour number 1, so I'm going to mention it now. Republic Broadcasting Network really does need your continuing support, and again, a heartfelt thank you to those of you who are supporting our work right now. And let's see, I'm getting a note from our control room. Apparently, we're having some issues with our connection with both the audio and the video, and I'm not sure if that's internet or what that is, but on the next commercial break, I'm going to try reconnecting anyway. So technical issues aside, and again, that's why we need your support. We're working on very old equipment and just really nasty stuff here. So the postal address where you can send a check, money order, or if you prefer anonymity cash is Republic Broadcasting Network, 2251 Double Creek Drive, number 302, Round Rock, Texas, 78664. The phone number where you can make a credit or debit card donation is 800-724-2719, extension 3. And if you mail in a donation of $100 or more, include your t-shirt size and a return address, and you will get an official RBN t-shirt to wear around town. And don't forget, the Front Sight Firearms promo is still going on as well. Getting on back to the science and technology news here, China has successfully launched its new generation Long March 7A rocket early this morning on its second attempt, sending an experimental satellite into orbit. And this is good news because the first time they tried launching with this vehicle, they had a major failure. But this time it worked, and the rocket carried the Xi'an 9 satellite to test new technologies such as space environment monitoring, according to the China Aerospace Science and Technology Corporation. CASC built the experimental satellite in only 8 months, setting a record for mid to large size remote sensing satellites. Well, good for them. What can I tell you? A lot of meteors have been coming down lately. We had a big one come down over Vermont the other day. We're going to be talking about that in a little bit. And there was a big one that came down over the United Kingdom in the Cotswolds. And this one, pieces of it landed on the ground, and the residents there are scouring the land for bits of the meteorite because, of course, they are very valuable. But the largest single lump fell on the property of this one family, and they donated it. They gave it away, saying that, it's invaluable to science. So that was very, very generous of them to do. Over at Microsoft, they've had a little bit of an embarrassment. They've been forced to retract a research paper that published back in 2018 in the journal Nature. And they're now saying there's a lack of evidence to support their previous conclusions. The study involved trying to prove the existence of the fermion. This is a theorized particle that could possibly be both matter and antimatter. And retraction came after Sergei Frolov, a researcher at the University of Pittsburgh in Pennsylvania, found that another quantum phenomenon could mimic the results found by the original research team. Okay, over at CERN, a couple of bits of news there. They're starting to build a new super collider. This one is going to be something like 3 times the diameter of the Large Hadron Collider. And that's going to be some interesting stuff there. And meanwhile, the LS2, which is the oldest accelerator, has been cranked up into service. The way that is laid out at CERN is they have this one collider that generates the particles. Those are fed into other rings, which are considered storage rings. From there, they're routed to some of the other accelerators, including the Large Hadron Collider, and to do experiments. And they've got the antimatter factory in the east area. And so that's firing back up right now. So they're really humming over there. And I do have a concern about particle physics. They keep saying we're finding more and more particles. They don't know, they can't prove that they're not actually creating them at that moment. And particle physicists like to say that particle physics is like taking two old mechanical clocks and slamming them together and then trying to figure out what the clocks look like based on the springs and gears that fly on out. But if you slam those clocks together hard enough, individual teeth could break off the gears and come out as discrete parts, even though we know they weren't there before the collision. And that may be something that needs to, pay attention to. Speaking of clockwork, scientists think they have finally solved the mystery of the Antikythera mechanism, which was this mechanical computer that dates to 60 BC. The ruins of it were found on a shipwreck in the Mediterranean, and they think they finally figured out what it was for and how it was built. And okay, it's another commercial break. I'm going to restart our channel and see if we can clean up our signal.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
For over 20 years now, Extendivite has proven time and again it really works. Here is a testimonial from Amazon.com. I received an arterial switch at birth. In my mid-20s, I started getting slight runs of NSVT. Nothing too serious, but enough to cause worry. I started taking Extendivite a little over 2 years ago, and it helped cut the palpitations and NSVT down drastically. This isn't a cure-all supplement. I strongly recommend a good diet and exercise to aid in any heart troubles you may be having, and I strongly recommend giving Extendivite a try. Extendivite is only $69.95 for a 2-month supply. To order, call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com. That's HEARTDROP.com.
Extend your life with Extendivite.
It's happening, ladies and gentlemen. We here at RBN are working with Front Sight Firearms Training Institute to bring our audience the best in combat, tactical, and defensive firearms training. Whether you're a private citizen who is new to firearms, or you have a concealed weapon permit and want a level of training that surpasses what you've received from your local gun range, Front Sight provides priceless education and skills taught by seasoned law enforcement, military, and private citizen instructors to levels that far exceed law enforcement and military standard. With nearly 1 million responsible citizens trained from every town, city, and state from across the United States, Front Sight has bolstered the Patriot movement to a whole new level. Contact Dan Sutterfield by phone at 573-762-2356 or 573-465-2356 or shoot him an email at domedan, DOMEDAN @hotmail.com. This is a limited time opportunity. Don't miss it.
Homeowners, are you in foreclosure, expecting to be served with a foreclosure lawsuit, or suspect your lender has coerced you into an illegal mortgage transaction? A huge number of mortgages made in the last 10 since closing the loan, it may be defective, and you may be paying the wrong party, and the lender may not have standing or the right to foreclose or collect payments under the law. If you would like to know if your mortgage is legal or not, or know if you are paying the right party, we can help. Our initial consultations are free of charge. We are not attorneys. We are legal researchers and work closely with experienced lawyers who know how to help you find the evidence to help you keep your home. Call toll free 1-855-2-KEEP-IT. That's 1-855-2-KEEP-IT today.
We will not go down in the night without a fight. You can burn up our mosques and our homes and our schools, but our spirit will never die. We will not go down in Gaza tonight. Women,
Welcome back to our show here, and we seem to be having some technical gremlins. Our bandwidth has all of a sudden narrowed, and yeah, we still have a connection issue here, and the sound coming this way is not good, and I don't know how good the sound is coming from me to you, but I'm going to slow down my speech a little bit just in case so that you can understand me. We are going to open the phone lines, area code 512-248-8252, and call on in with your comments and questions. Meanwhile, we're going to go back to news about science, technology, and so forth. Apple is getting ready to release a $1,000 virtual reality helmet with see-through screens. They're aiming to release this in 2022, and it's obviously an augmented reality product. And they're saying that they could debut augmented reality glasses and contacts within a decade. I don't know if I would want to wear the contacts, but that would be pretty amazing. I might be interested in the glasses if they're not too distracting while driving. We have another asteroid that is going to whiz by Earth on the 21st of this month. It's a big one, and NASA is saying we don't have to worry. It will pass by at a safe distance. But somebody else was noticing that we seem to be having more of these meteorites hitting the Earth and more of these asteroids swinging by. Partly that is because we have more eyes looking at the skies with the growing population and technology. But again, we know from the geological record that Earth goes through phases of, shall we say, cosmic bombardment, having to do with the fact that the solar system, along with orbiting around the Milky Way galaxy, also bobs up and down through the galactic plane. And when it goes through that galactic plane, there's a lot of material around us, and it can dislodge a lot of objects in the Oort cloud or beyond and send them falling into the Earth. So NASA has issued a public statement regarding 2001 FO32, saying you don't need to worry about it. It's not the end of the world. We're not going to send, Bruce Willis out there to blow it up with a nuclear bomb or something like that. Okay, now this asteroid is going to pass Earth at 5.25 times the distance to the moon. It is still classed as a potentially hazardous asteroid, and it is going to come within 1.25 million miles of our planet, and it is a big rock. If it actually hit the Earth, it would be noisy. NASA's Commercial Crew program did not work out exactly as planned. It has produced so far one suitable spacecraft for taking astronauts to and from the International Space Station. And they've already flown missions to the ISS using SpaceX's Crew Dragon, and another mission is on the schedule. But if you thought the Crew Dragon success meant NASA wouldn't have to hitch a ride with Russia, you were mistaken. NASA has released a new press release saying that it will once again lean on the Russian space agency Roscosmos for the privilege of using a seat on its Soyuz spacecraft to get an American astronaut into space. The Soyuz MS-18 mission will now include NASA's Mark Vande Hei, thanks to an agreement between NASA and Axiom Space, which secured the seat on the Soyuz vehicle for NASA. Over on the Hubble Space Telescope, they had a glitch somewhere back about the 8th or 9th when a software error caused the spacecraft to go into safe mode. And the software error was traced to an agency statement called an enhancement recently uploaded to the spacecraft. The enhancement was intended to compensate for fluctuations from one of the telescope's gyroscopes, but a glitch in the software caused a broader problem with Hubble's main computer, triggering the safe mode on March 7th. And now controllers have resolved the problem by disabling that software enhancement and plan to correct the flaw and test the new software a lot further before uploading it again. Yes, definitely have to test that before uploading it. And now, when we were working on Viking and when they did it Curiosity, and I know they're doing the same thing with Perseverance, they have an identical copy of the spacecraft sitting in what's called a sandbox on Earth. And pardon me, before any new commands and software are uploaded to Mars, they are uploaded to the duplicate spacecraft in the sandbox and run through the paces to make sure that it's really going to work. It's a final check after the code check to make sure things are working properly. Now, moving on from Hubble, the James Webb Space Telescope has had a bit of a rough go. It's supposed to be the most powerful space telescope ever built. They've suffered from poor management, technical errors, budget overruns, schedule delays, the pandemic, and so they're really concerned about all kinds of things, including pirates. And that may sound kind of a little bit weird, but if you think about it, you've got this $1 billion plus space telescope. It's too big to go into an aircraft, so it's going to be sent by cargo ship down to its launch facility. And the departure date and identity of the ship are all being hidden because pirates could grab the ship and hold the space telescope for ransom. So it makes perfect sense. Kind of weird things you have to deal with on your way into space here. Article coming on out of Science Focus. Asking when will the Ingenuity Mars helicopter fly? And now that Perseverance is starting to strut its stuff out there, they're starting to look at the little tiny helicopter that was taken along. They're calling it the extraterrestrial Wright brothers moment. The Ingenuity has delivered a promising first status report. The craft's batteries and heating systems are performing well. And so we're going to be coming up on the first flight. Basically, it operates like a drone, overhead counter-rotating props, and onboard gyros, just like the really hip drones that we have down here. All right, our phone lines are still open. Area code 512-248-8252. Over in China, student volunteers spent 370 days sealed in what is called Lunar Palace 1, growing food and generating oxygen from recycled materials as part of the plan to build a permanent habitat on the moon, which they're now going to be building in partnership with Russia, which has decided not to partner with NASA on NASA's Lunar Gateway. So everybody's, that's going to be exciting. 2001 really is starting to catch up with us, for real. Down at Arecibo, as you're aware, down in Puerto Rico, it suffered a major collapse not too long ago when the overhead cables snapped. The big antenna array at the top crashed down and really gouged out the dish. And they're basically now saying it's going to cost somewhere between $30 and $50 million to clean up the mess created by the collapse of the Arecibo dish late last year. Now, the investigation as to what exactly happened is still ongoing, but the National Science Foundation, through the Consolidated Appropriations Act of 2021, was asked to provide a report to Congress outlining the causes and extent of the damage, the plan to remove debris in a safe and environmentally sound way, the preservation of the facilities and surrounding areas, and the process for determining whether to establish a new telescope at the site, along with those cost estimates. Meanwhile, of course, in China, they have what's called the FAST telescope, which is built along the same designs as Arecibo, except considerably larger. And instead of 3 sets of cables holding that center antenna platform, they have 6. So it's a little bit more robust. And telescope is open for business. It's at least partly involved in SETI research as well. All right, story coming on out of the end of the AmericanDream.com, and it's talking about how we have been warned that Dust Bowl conditions would return, and it does appear to be happening. We have this horrific drought through the western half of the United States. It's already gone way past what many scientists thought was possible. Some areas of the Southwest went more than 200 straight days without any measurable rain last year. Vegetation is disappearing at a frightening pace, and dust storms are becoming more common. Now, there's, climate has something to do with it. But the reality is that following the original Dust Bowl, there was a huge investment in infrastructure and developing new farming techniques to prevent a Dust Bowl from ever happening again. Massive irrigation, water transference systems, aqueducts, pipeline systems, but all of that stuff has been allowed to decay in recent decades. And that irrigation system that was put out there in the West to create all that new farmland is delivering about 1/3 of the water that it was originally designed to produce. And so the reason the Dust Bowl is returning is because the infrastructure put in place to prevent a Dust Bowl is falling apart, because we need to spend the money on Israel and things that go bang. All right, another interesting story. And by the way, the phone lines are still open. Area code 512-248-8252. And we are still dealing with technical issues, for which I apologize, although it's not my fault. Maybe they didn't feed that giant mutant hamster in the little wire wheel that powers all of RBN here. Okay, story coming on out from the Hideout Now. This is out of Michigan. There was this man who spent nearly 5 years in prison for a murder he did not commit. He is now suing Hertz, okay, because it took them 3 years to produce the receipt for the car he rented that proved he was nowhere near the scene of the crime. And they produced the receipt, proved he was renting a car 20 minutes away from the crime scene at the time the crime was occurring. But it took Hertz 3 years to produce it. So he is suing them, and I hope that will work. Okay, we actually have a caller on the line here. Let's go to Robert in Kansas. Hello, Robert. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, Michael. Thank you for taking my call. I wanted to call you for a while now to talk about what happened down in Texas, where they had that storm. And I believe, Michael, and I'm a bit of a conspiracy theorist, I believe that they manufactured that storm where they brought down the cold air, and then they went ahead and cut the power to a lot of citizens of Texas.
Okay, and why would they do that?
As a beta test, is to test out their weather weapon. I believe they've done a lot with hurricanes and other stuff, but they haven't necessarily done a sustained cold, Arctic type environment that they did when they brought down the cold from the polar vortex. And so what I believe they're doing.
Let me ask you this, why would they hit like Texas with it, as opposed to maybe doing the test and sending that prolonged cold out over the ocean where it's not going to inconvenience anybody?
Well, because Texas has an independent grid where they can look at the effects. They could look at if they politically shut down the grid compared to also then bringing in the physical cold. I believe it's a really good beta test for what they plan on doing in the future. And when I say the future, Michael, I mean in the next 2 to 3 years. And I base that time frame on a website called Deagle.com, DEAGEL.com. And they predict the United States population to be at 100 million in 2025. And you're a smart man, Michael. You can do that math. So they want to bring it 2/3 down to 100 million by 2025, or at least that's the forecast. And what I believe they're going to do, Michael, is that Texas was their beta test. And in the next year or two or three or however long, you're going to see a polar vortex come down into America, to the middle of the country, where all the white Republican conservatives live, the Trump supporters. They're gonna bring that polar vortex down, and they're not going to keep it for a week like they did last time. They're going to keep it for a month or 2 or 3, and they're going to cut the power in that time.
Robert,
they're going to blame the power cut on the poll.
Robert, my turn. Okay, we're coming up on a commercial break, so I'm going to have to let you go, but I leave you with this parting thought. I do not care how much of a rush you are in the morning. You have got to stop drying your hair in the microwave oven. So thank you very much for the phone call. And the phone lines are open, area code 512-248-8252. Now, as I mentioned earlier in the program, we have a lot of things falling down from the sky on us right now. And we had one come down over Vermont that left a shock wave. I mean, it was a bolide. It actually exploded high up in the atmosphere, but the shock wave from it rattled buildings on the ground, registered on seismometers. And, NASA is basically saying that, yeah, this appears to have been a genuine object from the from outer space that came down through the atmosphere and caused a ruckus. Again, there used to be a show called The Meteor Men or The Meteor Hunters, where they went on out and found meteors, because they're all over the place, and they would, sell them, because there are people who will buy meteors as long as you can document that it really is a meteor. Okay, now getting on to other things here. Somebody is out there screaming now that we have a real national security issue, that most of our military supplies are made in China. And yeah, I would think that would be a problem. Getting on back to the meteors and whatnot, there is basically an increased fireball sightings coincide with the spike in near-Earth asteroids. Okay, we got to take a break for commercials. We got a caller waiting on the line, and we will be right back.
Is your property a financial burden and causing you grief? Have you tried to sell but can't find buyers? Or are you just too busy to sell your property? Don't worry, we have the right solution for you. We buy properties as is, with cash, close in 30 days, and pay all closing costs. Our service is ideal for property owners who are in pre-foreclosure, have high-end repair costs, experiencing financial hardship, going through costly divorces, are relocating, need cash for retirement, suffering family loss, or have tax liens. Whatever your situation may be, we can help you sell your property and get the money you need. If you own a single-family home or multiple family units, call us for a free consultation at 888-910-1037. That's 888-910-1037. Or visit our website at cachingproperty.com. That's cachingproperty.com. Sell your property fast and leave all your worries behind.
Extendivite has proven time and again it really works. Here's a testimonial from Amazon.com. I am only 40, but I have put my body through hell working in manufacturing for 20 years. I recently started to notice a buzzing feeling along with a stuttering sensation with my heart. I had a full cardio stress done, which I passed. I decided to try Extendivite after getting the jingle stuck in my head. Halfway through the bottle, I really did notice a difference. After getting home from work, I would just sit in a chair for a few hours feeling like crap, and this stuff reduced that feeling along with heart discomfort to almost nothing. Extendivite is only $69.95 for a 2-month supply. To order, call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com. That's HEARTDROP.com.
Extend your life with Extendivite.
Hey there, are you going to wait till the cows come home to get your new ease-off drop-and lift?
What in the world is an ease-off drop-and lift?
Our Ease Off is a new tool to increase production for your meat processing company that will get that whole hog or half a beef on or off your rail with our remote control.
That sounds great, but can I afford it?
Sure! And the Ease Off installs fast. The effortless operation will reduce fatigue, speed up your line, and increase profits.
Okay, I'm convinced. Where can I get my Ease Off?
Go to easeoff.com. That's EAZEOFF.com. And hurry because we're offering free shipping for a limited time. Easeoff.com. We make pigs fly. Cows, too.
Ease Off LLC, 417-932-6419.
What this country is coming to, I sure would like to know. If they don't do something by and by, the rich will live and the poor will die. Doggone, I mean the panic is on. Can't get no way, can't draw no pay. Unemployment.
Welcome back to our show here. Last segment of our program on this Powhana Friday, and we're going to go back to the phones to Glenn in Philadelphia. Hello, Glenn. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hi, Jordy. I was listening to you talking about the Arecibo telescope, and before that, the mentioned things about goings on with the Hubble.
Yes.
I can imagine it got me thinking along the lines of engineering standards. I imagine you probably have seen the episode of Star Trek Next Generation in which Geordi rescues Commander Scott from the original series.
Oh, I remember that one, yes.
Well, there's this fascinating interaction between the two engineers, the younger and the older, where Geordi starts telling Commander Scott about the limitations of some device. And he's like, oh, it can take more than it. He's there. No, here's the manual. The manual says this. And Commander Scott says, Sonny, laddie, I wrote that manual. They never tell them what it can really do. How do you think I keep my reputation as a miracle worker?
Yes. Well, we know that, good engineering practice is to over-design, past the specs. But, that telescope has been in operation for a lot of years, and it's sitting there in a very humid and salty climate. And as Claire and I learned to our own chagrin in Hawaii, salty, humid climates make everything look like it's made out of compressed rust.
Right. Well, which begs the question, might not somebody have thought to reinforce the cabling at some point, if they wanted to keep it going?
Well, I think the really operant question here is, what was the telescope's original design lifespan? Because nobody thought it was going to last forever. At some point it was going to have to be taken down and replaced. It just, they just kept it running as long as they could.
Well, I know. What did they call that? Run to fail.
Yes.
Nowadays, that's actually there's actually a term for that. Run to fail.
Just like our government.
Speaking of engineering and price, the Hubble has been operating in a bit of a slightly crippled state ever since its inception, because a friend of mine had worked for Hughes at the time the Hubble was sent up and everything, and I forget whether it was a government agency refused to allow the civilian corporation, or the civilian corporation didn't allow the government agent, the Air Force, to inspect. They wanted to do kind of obsessive compulsive super duper triple double check on the mirrors of the Hubble.
Yes.
And one agency disallowed the other, and consequently it was sent up with a problem which they found some sort of optical computer way to compensate, at least to some degree. But all these years it's been operating in less than optimal condition because of that.
Well, yeah, there was a mistake in grinding the original mirror. There were two tests done on the optical train. One said it's working perfectly. The other one said, no, there's a serious problem. And the project manager said, well, we'll just throw out the one that says there's a problem. We've got a test result here that says it's going to work. And they sent it up. But it was corrected with a corrector lens installed during a space shuttle mission. Okay, Glenn, there's the music. I got to let you go. Everybody have a really good weekend. Stay tuned for John Stadmiller. I'm sure he's got lots of interesting things to share with you. Please spread the word of Republic Broadcasting. Spread the word of whatreallyhappened.com. Please donate. Have a really great weekend. We'll be back on Monday. Aloha, America.